Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are watching this. We'll start a little early. Sean needs in here. So, anyways, we are part 2 of last week. So last week we talked about cooking oils. This week we're going to get into butters and the different types of butters. But first, how was your week? Did you do anything fun? Did you do anything for yourself? We actually went hiking to a waterfall and to a pumpkin patch. So yes, you can see pictures on Bentley's Insta at Bentley Brings You Happiness. If you want to. Anyways, but butters. So the reason we talk about this because obviously what you put in your body and what is also what you're cooking your food in, right? So what you cook your food in can make you, if it's not good for you, it can make you feel like shit. And it can add to your burnout. So like anything, moderation is key, okay? So butter. When buying butter, what to look for? Butter fat content is butter fat. So content higher butter fat percentages, especially European style butter, lead to a richer flavor and creamier texture. So in the US, butter must have at least 80% butter fat, while European butter is a minimum of 82% butter fat. Ingredients is a simple ingredient list is best. And the other one says simple ingredient list is best. It's always best, right? Look for butter that contains only cream or cream and salt. Avoid products with added oils, artificial flavors, or preservatives. Salted versus unsalted. Unsalted butter gives you complete control over the saltiness in cooking and baking, while salted butter has salt added for flavor and longer shelf life. Quality and origin. Look for terms like grass-fed, organic, or cultured for higher quality butter, better flavor and nutrient density. The flavor and texture, so a good butter should have a fresh, creamy flavor and a smooth texture. The color can vary, but a pleasing pale yellow is often a good sign. Brand and price. While not always the case, a higher price in a branded product can indicate a higher quality, made with more care. This is also a good transition into Amish butter. So Amish butter, what is Amish butter, right? So an Amish style butter is a churn cream with a higher dairy fat content than American butter. So even though the store-bought Amish butter is still made by machines, but is still using the slow churning process like a butter churn, and it minimizes air in the finished product and avoid breaking down butter fat. Its rolled shape is actually based on the traditional Amish techniques. So if you live near an Amish community, you may be able to purchase authentic handmade Amish butter. But still, if you are shopping at a roadside stand, farmer's market, or health food store in Amish country, don't assume that a product labeled as Amish butter or embossed with a horse-drawn buggy on the label is handmade by the Amish. It might be made with milk from Amish farmers or come from Lancaster County dairies. So, or sometimes too with the fruit stand. So I was raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. My mom's family is lives in Morganton, North Carolina. The foothill of the mountains of Asheville. So it's like 45 minutes from Asheville, North Carolina. On our way up there, we would always stop at this fruit stand and get fruits, tangerines and stuff. And after so many years, always saw this butter. It was Amish butter. We finally got some and tried it. Let me tell you. I guess a lady. So what happened? There was an Amish lady who lived around there. So it wasn't Amish country or anything like that. It was just some Amish people who I guess moved away, lived around there, and she made the Amish butter. So it was handmade Amish butter, and no, it wasn't in a roll. It was actually like a square flat thing in plastic. So you would never know it was Amish butter unless the guy told you it was Amish butter from this lady, right? Best butter I have ever eaten. I got mad at my parents because I told them they were holding out on me. They knew what it was. I was raised with, country crock, butter. I mean, that's what you ate in the South back then, growing up, right? Or I bet it was, country crock. But it was really, really good. So now Sean and I, we use the Vital Farms butter. It's in really easy to recognize packaging. So I say it looks like a colorful chalkboard. It's 90% grass-fed, salted butter, pasture-raised, family farms. I did put that link in the description. So to kind of give you a start, doesn't necessarily mean that, it's the best one for you. Just that's what we utilize. We cook all of Sean's stuff is cooked in butter. Avocado oil every now and then when he eats what I cook. But yes, it's always cooked in butter. If you want to give it a try, the information's in the link. If there's something else better for you or you like better, that's fine. Go for that. Do what works for you. Or if you may already be eating something or utilizing something that is better for you. Which keep doing it. So apple and pumpkin butter we'll talk about when we talk about jams, because those are more spreads versus a butter. Okay. Now, ghee. 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 I never heard of ghee until a few years ago when Sean was eating it at the time, or started eating it at the time. Had no clue what it was. But it's clarified butter made by simmering butter to evaporate water and separate milk solid, resulting in a pure, rich butter fat with a nutty flavor and high smoke point. So if you're doing some deep air frying like we do in the South, and you don't want to use oil or vegetable oil, which you shouldn't be using anyway, but you don't want to use oil, ghee. Okay? Because butter, instead of butter, obviously, ghee. Unlike butter, ghee contains no lactose or milk solids and is shelf stable for a long time, meaning it has a long shelf life. So if you want to use a butter, but you're not going to use a lot of it, so you don't want to buy a stick of it or a 2-pack or a 4-pack or anything, then get ghee because it'll last longer, and so at least you get your money's worth, right? So it's not necessarily healthier than butter, but it can be a better choice for those with lactose intolerance and for a high cooking heat. So yes, if you're lactose intolerant, ghee. If you vegetarian, you can still do butter if you want. Vegan, ghee. Okay, if those are the diets that you're doing. But all right, so what to look for when buying ghee, right? So you want to look for a rich golden color, a nutty aroma, and smooth texture. Always check the ingredients list for purity. Ideally, just one ingredient, butter or milk, and look for certifications like organic or grass-fed, Proper packaging, such as a sealed glass jar, is also important for freshness and purity, as well as to protect it from oxidation and contamination. We talked about that with oils last week, right? The dark glass jars does the same thing. And plus, with plastics, microplastics, I mean, they're everywhere. But hey, I always say the least you could, the more you can do to prevent you from intaking microplastics, the better, right? High quality ghee is made from cow's milk, not vegetable oil, and is shelf stable and doesn't need to be refrigerated. There's vegetable oil again. Remember last week we talked about vegetable oils? If you didn't watch it, go back and watch it. Vegetable oil is a very processed oil. Of course, if it's processed, it's not good for you. All right. There's also in the link, there's a bio is really interesting because there has actually, so kind of like with the honey, when I talk about honey or sweeteners, so go back and if you haven't watched it, go back and watch that. Talk about how they'll do additives to make it cheaper. They do the same thing with ghee. Okay, now that it's starting to become more popular, they're doing the same thing with ghee. There is an article that I put a link in the bio or in the description that gives you, high quality ghee, how to, and buying tips for ghee. Okay, so if you decide to go that route, make sure you check it out. All right, now modern margarine. Margarine, that's what they've redone margarine and they're calling it modern margarine now. Granted, I don't know if that's what it says in the store. Modern margarine is a processed food made from vegetable oils that is designed to resemble butter, but is now made to be trans fat free through methods like intensification instead of partial hydrogenation, I believe is how those are pronounced. Excuse me if it's not. Again, that's not my avenue. Common ingredients include vegetable oil, water, skim milk, salt, emulsifiers, preservatives, flavoring, colorant like beta carotene, and added vitamins. Again, processed. Stay away from it. Not good for you. Shortening is a fat usually made from vegetable oil that is solid at room temperature and used in baking to create a tender, flaky texture. Margarine can be considered a type of shortening because it's technically any fat that is solid at room temperature and used in baking, while both are made from vegetable oils. Shortening is 100% fat, whereas margarine contains water and sometimes milk solid and is made to be a butter substitute. Shortening provides more richness and tenderness due to its higher fat content. Stay away from it. Honestly, I don't know if people use shortening anymore or not. I could be wrong. I say that, and I'm sure like the fancy bakers use it. I honestly can't imagine them using it. But it's not good for you. It's processed, just like margarine, processed. Okay. My advice: stay away from it. But hey, if it works for you, okay, then I'm sure you're probably that small percentile. There's probably a small percentile that it does really well for. But for the most part, I would advise stay away from it. All right, let's get into the animal fat, right? Lard. Lard is a semi-solid white fat made from rendered pork fat used as cooking fat for its ability to enhance flakiness in baked goods and its high smoke point for frying. So, what to look for when buying lard? So there's 3 types of lard. If you want to know more about it, I don't go into detail on these because it made me a little squeamish, but you can look it up if you want to, okay? So 3 types of lard. There's rendered lard, which is the most common type. There's also leaf lard, which is a prize premium type. You can look it up to see why it's prize premium or considered prize premium. Processed lard undergoes hydrogenation for a longer shelf life. So when you buy, you want to either buy the leaf lard or back fat, which is the rendered lard. Avoid hydrogenated lard, the processed lard, because it has been chemically altered to be shelf stable and not as good for you. Why do you want to add more chemicals in your body? That's just, yes, no processed lard. No, yes. Avoid lard with additives like BHA and BHT, which are, both of those are toxic benzene derivatives. Again, why do you want to add toxins into your body? It makes you feel like shit. It's not good for you, and you're going to end up in the hospital at some point, right? All right. So, tallow. Tallow is rendered animal fat, primarily from cattle or sheep, with various uses, including cooking, skincare, such as moisturizer and soap making, and as a historical lubricant for machinery like steam engines. I guess that was before WD-40, right? Because to me, WD-40 is like duct tape. It fixed everything. Oh, and on that note, steroids, people, don't fix everything, okay? Yes, I said it. All right. Tallow, it's been used for candle making as well. Interesting, right? Some people may experience an allergic reaction to tallow, so just be careful to the tallow products. It can also affect your natural pH balance of the skin if it's used improperly. But what to look for when buying. We'll go through this, but there's also in the description, there's a really, really good article, a link to an article talking about the high quality of tallow. And buying it. So you want to make sure it's grass-fed and finished, and indicated the cattle had more natural diet. Often has a yellow to creamy color, so it has a higher nutrient content. You want to avoid low-quality sources, so you want to look for animals raised without antibiotics or steroids, and consider source preferring products that care. You want to consider sources that use their own animals versus sourcing from large producers. All right, like regenerative farming, basically. White Oak Pastures, I mentioned them in a previous video. I'll put their link in the description in this video as well. They are a regenerative farm. They use every aspect of the animals, including like the blood, the bones, the meat, everything. They use the tallow. From that, they do make soap and I think lotion, tallow soap and lotion. But their animals are very well cared for. They're the ones that they worked with Simple Grandoline about humanely euthanizing, and the cows actually live their full life. So if it's something you're interested in, definitely check them out. I'm sure there are other farms out there that do the same thing or something very similar that you may prefer, and that's okay. Definitely do your research, but I'm providing this so you can actually look into it, see what they do. If you want to try it, you can have an immediate source that you know is good to try from, and then do research for others. However you want to do it, that's fine. But definitely check them out. Low heat rendering also helps retain the tallow's nutrients and can result in a more pleasant scent. So there we go again, low heat. Remember in the honey video, if you hadn't seen it, go back and watch it with the sweeteners. We talked about honey and how honey and even some of the oils, when they process it on a high heat, it removes the nutrients from the source. Whether that source is like an olive, avocado, any of this, whatever they're getting the oil from, it removes the nutrients from that source. So low heat. Simple, you always want to make sure simple ingredients. A high quality tallow product should have short ingredient list with no added chemicals, filters, synthetic fragrances, or preservatives. So you want to look for unrefined products for balms, products made with organic cold press, and unrefined oils are best because they retain more of their natural nutrients. Color. So this is also important that after organic grass-fed and everything, this is also important to keep in mind depending on your dietary needs if you're going to use tallow. So color can vary depending on the animal's diet. So remember what they eat. If you eat what they eat if you're eating down the food chain, right? So a yellowish color means that the animal was grass-fed, whereas in a white color, which is a common, means they were grain-fed animals. And the reason I say this is important because if you're trying to do a grain-free diet, so if you're trying to stay away from grains, or if you are, or if you're allergic to gluten, you don't want to do a white tallow. You want to make sure it's a yellowish tallow because at that point you know that the animal's been grass-fed. Because sometimes, depending on where you get it, it's not labeled appropriately. Or I say appropriate, like it's not on the label and you're wondering, oh, is this organic? Oh, is this grass-fed? And then, of course, you're assuming that it's not because it's not labeled when sometimes they just depends on their marketing, right? So yes, yellow, grass-fed, white, grain-fed. The texture should be smooth and non-gritty. Scent should be a very mild, clean smell. If it's a strong, unpleasant, or beefy odor, it can indicate it's rancid or wasn't rendered properly. So, and also you want to avoid a product that doesn't have an ingredient list. If you don't know where it came from, don't put it in your body. So if you consume low quality beef tallow, you're consuming the toxins the cattle were exposed to, including antibiotics and steroids, among others. For this reason, it's paramount to source high quality, grass-fed, pasture-raised, antibiotic-free, organic, and ethically raised cattle whenever possible. That's why I said White Oak Pastures does all of this. So know that for sure. If you want to get started, it's an easy source to start with and then do research. But it's up to you. Okay? If you're doing something similar, have a farm or a source that you get it from already and that it does well for you, go for it. Okay? Keep doing it. It's all right. So remember, you have to do what works best for you. All right. Just because something works best for one person doesn't mean it's going to work best for you, or just because it worked best for you doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work best for someone else. All right. So, all right. Now, remember, if you need someone to talk to, you have peer-to-peer with Lifeboat through NOMV, not One More Vet. And remember, because it says vet in it doesn't mean that technicians cannot use it. It is for technicians as well as veterinarians. You also have, remember Lifeboat first time you reach out, it takes 72 hours for someone to reach back to you. And then after that, if you need it, once you get into that peer group, normally someone reaches back out to you within 24 hours once you reach out. So if you need someone to talk to immediately, call or text 988 or text home to 741-741. Please, please, please put this information in your phone or somewhere that, God forbid, if you're ever in that situation, that you know where to find it or how to look it up to utilize it if you need it. All right. I also, it's a good thing that you can also text both 988-741 if you need that, in a sense, because sometimes it's hard to just pick up the phone and call someone and say you need someone. A lot of times it's easier to just text. Okay. So with that, remember, poem that was inspired by an old poem. All right. You may not know that the world needs you, but it does. For no one else can smile your smile, say your piece, shine your light. You are unique, and you alone can fill your place. If you were not here to shine your light, what would happen to the pilgrims passing by your empty place in the darkness without your light to help them on their way? You may not know that the world needs you, but it does. Remember, what you do matters, and the world is a better place with you in it. That actually comes from Dear Person Company. Their link is also in the description if you like that saying. You can definitely order it through them. And so, yeah, until next week, do something for yourself. Take care of yourself. Thank you for watching.